Good evening, everyone. I'm Seshasai, your host for today's episode of Strength Spotlight, powered by Strengths Masters. We are diving into a very interesting topic that's both timely as well as timeless. What's next after middle management? The career pathways and plateaus. Joining me today are two stellar voices from the world of HR and talent, Surbhi Dewan and Abhishek Joshi. Let's get to know them a little better. I mean, each bringing over 2 decades of experience and perspective, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get to know them a little better before we dive into this powerful discussion. Surbhi Dewan, she's a postgraduate in HR and alumnus of New York University. Is a certified PI and top grading practitioner with 20 plus years of work experience across industries like real estate, logistics, public relations, IT, logistics, and ITES. She is a drafting committee member of the 1992 Code of Practice on Safety and Health in Construction Industry. She has represented India at the International Labour Organization at Geneva. Some of the other accolades include recipient of the Business World 40 Under 40 Club of Achievers 2020 and People First HR Excellence Future Leaders Award 2021. Aside to being jury member for varied HR fraternity awards, in her current role, she's a member of the leadership team heading HR at Ashiana Housing Limited. A warm welcome to this podcast. We look forward to having an interesting conversation with you. Now, our second speaker, Abhishek Joshi, is the founder of Strengths Masters and a Gallup certified strengths coach. With an illustrious career and experience in learning and talent management, he has been instrumental in establishing strengths-based development and transformation practice in numerous organizations ranging from large-scale companies to growth stage organizations. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to kick things off, let's hear from them on what really happens when the career ladder feels a little wobbly. Welcome once again, Surbhi and Abhishek, and we really look forward to having a very, very interesting panel discussion with both of you all.
Thank you, Sashishai. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
here
Sai.
comes the yeah. So here comes the thank you, Abhishek, and so let's dive into the conversation straight away. Now, this is a common question, Abhishek and Surbhi. Okay, anyone of you can take this. Now, when you hear the phrase "What's next after middle management," what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So I leave it to the choice between you and Abhishek. Surbhi, between you and Abhishek, anyone can
Shall we
take that.
kindly take this?
Sure. So thanks. It's an interesting question, and often as HR professionals, we do face this as a query that comes across. What's next for me? And I think it's important for us to understand that there is going to be a customized approach. It's not a one size fits all approach that can be applied here. And as mid managers, we've seen professionals who embarked on a journey in which they've got certain years of experience under the belt. They know they've been, champs at what they've really mastered, and they're at that inflection point. It's a career juncture where they really are itching to figure out what's next for them. Either they're going to continue as subject matter experts, or do they want to pivot into a general management role. So often these are, basic but very very important facets to an individual's engagement as well as development in their own professional journey, which also links to their personal aspirations. So I would always encourage employees or in these mid-career professionals to look at their careers like a portfolio. Have a growth mindset. They will need to be in that zone where they feel empowered, that they want to be taking risks, they want to try new things, they want to invest in their own development. It's not just looking at promotion as the next piece for themselves, but it's about development, their own satisfaction, and most importantly, long term success. So it's all about taking time to reflect, take a step back, figure out what you want to be doing, upskill if required, explore different avenues, or for that matter, just have a conversation with people who you feel you can trust and take feedback from. And last but not the least, do anything without the pressure of having immediate advancement as an immediate you know, outcome of whatever you want to do. So just take a step back, figure out what you want to do, and then plan the next leap for yourself.
Sure.
Lovely,
Thanks,
lovely.
Surbhi.
Yeah, yeah, Abhishek, great. Yeah.
Thanks. I think great insight. So I look at it this question, Sai, so why did this question come to people who are in middle management role? I'd like to address that. So is it the career planning? talent management is not done in a way that they are clear about their roadmap, because middle level leaders in any organization are the most critical leaders. They are the ones who drive strategy and execution. So if such question is in their mind, that means the root cause is somewhere else. So either they are not getting an opportunity to leverage what they really good at, or maybe they don't know what works for them, what has worked for them, and what will continue working for them. So that's the question, that's the root cause. That's the first step. I'll go a step back and answer this question, and then second, so if this question comes to what next, if that's the question in the middle level leader's mind. So they it can always be answered by looking at the opportunities which exist within the organization first. So one is that, like Surbhi said, growth mindset. So do people have? It can be addressed by having a growth mindset, which means that detaching yourself from what you have been doing so far, and maybe trying out new things within the organization, and making sure that you stretch and you become more and more valuable to the organization in your current role. So that's my take on this question, side. Thank you.
Very interesting points, Surbhi and Abhishek, that you brought up. In fact, Surbhi, I really like the point that when you mentioned about the inflection point. I mean, that is the turning point for them. Either you get into a general management role, or you pivot, or you actually become a subject matter expert. And that is where I think, Abhishek, I'll just try and link for the benefit of our audience that I heard you saying that uh, they should really pause and reflect and ask themselves that, okay, what has worked for them till now, what's going to continue working for them, right now that's one scenario. The second scenario could be what has worked for them till now may or may not work in going forward. So what has brought them here may not take them to the next level. Now that's where I think I see a similarity between Subhi, what you said is like a growth mindset. You brought the mindset aspect here, and Abhishek, you spoke about creating opportunities wherein they can actually start utilizing what they already have as you may put it as innate talents or skills. And then and again, upskilling is also an important aspect, because yes, as we've entered the age of like artificial intelligence, and which has actually made inroads in every sector. No sector, no domain has been left, or rather nobody can evade this. So considering all these aspects, yes, I mean, growth mindset, creating opportunities for them, having crucial conversations with them at regular intervals. And also, Surbhi, that one point that you brought up is they should not be under any kind of pressure that yes, this thing has to happen almost instantly. Okay, so great, fantastic insights. Thank you, Abhishek and Surbhi, for those to kick this off on a very, very interesting note. Now, moving on, Surbhi, this question is specifically for you. From an HR lens, what do you observe as typical career trajectories for mid-level managers today?
Um, there are multiple options that an individual can pivot to. So first and foremost, the individual will essentially be at that point where they've got that feeling of being stuck. They don't know what's happening, what's next for them. So as a result, there is a very very silent feeling that an individual will have that they are boxed in the role that they probably have outgrown. So as a result, they will have a holding pattern. And I would urge anybody who's in that zone to go back, reflect again. And it's a very, very common feeling. Most people will not admit it that they're feeling stuck. So
Hmm.
in that zone where you are actually a link between the execution and strategy, as Abhishek mentioned, while you're standing at that bridge and you don't have clarity, you will want to be on the other side, but what's that other side going to be is the question. So in order to figure that out for
Hmm.
yourself, one must just simply ask a few set of questions. What is it that you want to go to? What's the end in mind? Are you a person who's very good at what they want to do and they're not interested in doing a general management or a people management role? So as a result, you'd like to make the choice of being a subject matter expert. Or you could be a professional who says, well, I've been a subject matter expert, but I want exposure on the other side. So what is it going to be, what is the trajectory you want to carve out for yourself, is the first question. Get that clarity. Once you have that clarity, I think there are enough resources in the organization and in general, as well as from a training standpoint, multiple things that you can actually go and study and take on lessons for, which you can adapt and use that knowledge that you get from there to your next opportunity that you want to sign up for. So first, create that roadmap for yourself, create that career journey for yourself, pick up what you want, hone skills. There would be skills that you may already have, and some
Right.
skills which you may want to acquire externally if you don't have them through the experience that you already have in your career journey so far. So while you're doing all of this, another situation is, it's a real life situation. Middle management professionals generally are like runners. They also
Hmm.
hit a plateau. So a runner may have
Yeah.
had very good stints, where they know how to do the sprint, but they're not prepared for the marathon. So what
Right.
are the competencies? What exactly is your wish list? Where exactly you want to grow? Answer that question for yourself, and then pick on whatever trajectory you like to pick, and go further and go deeper in that direction. Two
Right.
clear pathways for any professional there.
Right. Right.
Lovely, Surbhi. I really like the analogy of a runner. That yes, they're already experts in sprint, but then yes, are they really prepared for a marathon? Okay, which requires a lot of introspection. But then one more thing I would like to just I was just thinking aloud, Surbhi. Once I heard you saying that this is the point wherein they're supposed to reflect, self-reflect, and create a roadmap. I personally also feel that yes, because some of the leaders might be in a perpetual mental block. I mean, I mean, when I say mental block, what I'm trying to put across is that maybe the thought process is clouded, and that's where because it's going to be a drastic shift from being coming with an execution mindset and then getting into a as a strategic thinker. I also feel personally that yes, the management support is also required, because that is where
Hmm.
the conversation should happen at regular intervals, so that wherever a leader is gets getting stuck, because sometimes it's not because of external circumstances, but maybe it's internal. Okay, and that's why once we're able to remove that cloud, and then the clarity, the vision is very, very clear. Yeah, but anyways, I mean, great like response to that
I'd
question,
just
Surbhi.
like
Thank you
to
very
add one
much.
more piece here,
uh
Shashank. Uh,
Please,
when
please.
you're
Yeah.
moving from middle management to senior management, there is a leap change, and that leap change can only happen when you have the mindset. The transformation only can happen when you have the mindset,
Yeah.
right? As a
Mindset.
middle manager, I would be a person who's a solutioning architect. I could be a person who's driving execution, fantastic at getting the work done, the go-to person, the most reliable person. But at that stage, what I'm actually doing is I'm doing things right.
Hmm.
But when I move to a senior leadership role,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
shift, and where from doing things right, we have to move to the mindset of doing the right things,
Right.
right? And with that, it means that I, as an individual,
Yeah.
from a
Yeah.
management professional to a senior leader, I make a shift from execution to vision, from efficiency to influence, and from
Mm,
problem solving to being an
mm,
enabler, enabling others. So
Right.
that's a big mindset shift, and as professionals, we will need to have a transition in our own ways of working, from being task owners to being owners of the business, having a larger, bigger picture vision. The broader the view, the more the individual is going to be prepared to lead for scale. and
Right.
and that's something that I've seen typically in our organization. We've got people who are domain experts to actually take on cross-functional projects which are out of their comfort zone, out of their core domain. And then that's, I'll give you a simple analogy. For example, we had an excellent executioner, middle management professional, very good engineer. But when we place these professionals into different roles, cross-functional projects which were more centered towards sales, customer service, a bit of finance, they suddenly were thinking beyond standard construction timelines. They were asking questions
mm,
like, how does quality affect the brand? How do delays affect the impact on customer trust? That exactly is the leadership. From being an
mm,
executioner, you're on the other side of the table. And they also need to hone one very very basic facet, again, a mindset shift from working in your comfort zone to actually dealing with ambiguity. As you grow,
Ambiguity.
problems become more complex, and the data is definitely less perfect. And as
Right.
leaders,
Mm.
mostly at the top, you don't have full clarity, and you still need to move forward with a lot of decisiveness. At that point in time, what is really going to come in handy is sound judgment and decision making. It's the courage to make the decision and the ability to stay anchored amidst that uncertainty that really helps you change from being a middle management professional to a young or a senior leader.
Right.
Great
And
insight,
third,
Surbhi.
last
I
but
mean,
not
really,
least,
yeah.
one piece which is very very important is emotional intelligence. This
Mm.
actually becomes a make or break. Handling change, dealing with interpersonal matters, expectations. These are real time, everyday leadership challenges, and technical IQ can get you to the table, but it is actually emotional intelligence that determines whether you stay there and thrive. The connect that you may be able to deliver, that is very very important. That
Right.
compelling connect is very important.
Excellent,
Great.
excellent, Surbhi. Very well articulated, very well articulated, and it's so relatable. Especially, when you said the EI part, that actually in the morning itself, I came across a post which says that machines are getting better with machines. Now it's time for humans to get better with humans, right? So I guess this is the need of the really. I mean, and plus you spoke about that shift from execution mindset to strategic thinking. I guess that is where yes, if the clear roadmap is there, clarity, because your responses to the earlier question, so it's actually fine. So it makes so much of relevance and making so much of sense. So thank you very much, Surbhi, for actually bringing to the table some valuable insights on that. Now, moving forward, Abhishek, this question is to you. From
Sure.
a strengths based lens, what are the most common barriers that mid-level leaders face when it comes to growth?
So, Sai, when we look at strength-based lens, so what we do when we work with leaders, especially middle-level leaders, when we try to identify their strengths and try to navigate their world through the lenses of strengths, what we find often is that they are very uncertain about a lot of things. So
Mm,
though there is a lot of uncertainty always in the environment, like Surbhi said, that there will always be uncertainty and you will have to take decisions, move ahead amidst that uncertainty. But let's say when we look at individual from the lenses of strengths, when they get their report, when we decode them and we start working with them, we find that there are a lot of things which they are uncertain about. So the first thing that
mm,
happens, their uncertainty is removed, and they
mm,
become certain about certain things which have certainly worked for them. So many times, people have doubt about applying themselves the way they are, right?
mm,
And therefore, during that phase, their potential is not completely demonstrated, not by the organization, by themselves. They are not able to. Organization might provide everything, and still they may not be able to demonstrate what they are really good at. What they can really excel and do differently than other people do. So that's something which, so uncertainty and certain doubts, they become absolutely clear to them, which they have about themselves despite having good experience. And then in terms of execution, when so if you look at, there are three things: knowledge, skills, and strengths. So I mean, middle level leaders have knowledge and experience. Obviously, they have skills, therefore they are there. But what happens, once we complement it with strengths, their ability to apply themselves and execute effortlessly increases. And that's
mm.
something which we have often seen when we look at middle level leadership people, and largely we have worked a lot with them. We see that kind of certainty in them, and that kind of changes a lot of things about them. It brings better alignment, openness, initiative, orientation in everything that they do while working with 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 themselves, with their colleagues, with their teams, and overall organization. So that's how it works out.
Oh, thanks, Abhishek. I mean, I get those are some valuable insights. Now, if I have to summarize, pick up the key takeaways from what Surbhi said and what you just mentioned, Abhishek. Surbhi clearly used one word, like ambiguity, and you use the word, certainty. This actually makes me think of Barney, which like VUCA to Barney now, brittle, ambiguous, and then non-linear. I guess because the leaders should be aware of the fact that yes, now in considering the current business volatile business dynamics, they cannot expect a linear path. Okay, so they need to be mentally prepared to come across a path which is non-linear, and once they're prepared for that, the fourth one is which is incomprehensible. You don't know from which side are you going to be hit. Okay, so
Right.
so I guess that is where, if we start looking at from a strengths perspective, that also reminds me of Jim Collins in his, where he in his book he mentions good to great. That what is that one thing you're good at?
Hmm.
So if you start looking at what you're good at from the perspective of lens, I guess that changes the entire perspective, and to a large extent what Surbhi said. So I can clearly see a confluence of thoughts and inputs over there. So thank you very
Hmm.
much once again, Surbhi and Abhishek. It's turning out to be a very, very interesting discussion. Now moving on, the next question, which is again common to you both, Surbhi and Abhishek. Any one of you can take this. What are some common reasons professionals feel stuck at the middle management level? According to you, what are some of the common reasons that when the middle leaders actually they feel that yes, they're stuck at the middle management level? So
Maybe
anyone can
Surbhi,
go first.
please, Surbhi, you take it.
Thanks, Abhishek. So, well, like I said, it's something very common. People don't admit to it. There are three things which I see which happen with most middle managers. First, is a concern regarding visibility. There's a huge issue. A lot of organizations, we've seen it. The mid managers are basically the unsung heroes. They do a lot of the heavy weightlifting. They get things done. They're the ones who are actually pacing the organization at a different level and catapulting. Not that the senior management is not doing anything, but often while they're doing the heavy weightlifting, they aren't called out, they aren't appreciated, they aren't recognized, and because of that lack of visibility, they start to feel that they're just checking in the boxes. I just come there,
Hmm.
do my job, and I go back. The other piece is unclear growth paths. It's another big reason why individuals feel that they are stuck. The ladder, as you go up, gets foggier. It's no longer just about moving up in a
Mm,
linear manner. It's also about finding ways and working sideways, figuring out uh,
mm,
new ways in which you can expand your own skills as well as your influence. So the organizations where people don't have clearly defined pathways, it can give you that feeling of being stuck, and it becomes a holding pattern. And with that unsurety, it starts to boil down to a point where you start feeling choked. And typically what I've seen is, as mid management professionals, you've got very good operational expertise, very good technical domain knowledge, but to move into higher leadership roles, two key skills which are very, very important. First one being the ability and the willingness to learn. We've
Hmm.
seen people come back and say, I'm too
mm,
stuck with my day to day work. I don't have time to learn. There is too much to complete, and I cannot set aside. Or they may have the willingness, but they're just citing reasons. uh, it's You will need to find time, you need to manufacture that time and figure out how you want to keep learning and keep growing, otherwise you'll hit stagnation. Second piece being the capability to work sideways and also have
mm,
solution mindset. So if you're just stuck with your daily rigmarole, you will get stagnated. There's no new learning, so, and no cross-functional projects. So it's just a routine and mundane. You're clocking in and clocking out. So these two aspects, and I've seen leaders who really break the ceiling and push forward, are the ones who had an immense ability to, not just immense ability to learn, but also a hunger, a willingness to learn. They're, it's an intrinsic motivation that they have, that yes, this is something new, I want to pick it up as a skill, I want to use it and leverage it, because it's going to be useful for me in the next leap that I'm planning for myself. So
Right.
while we move, we learn across functional projects. There's a lot that we need to learn as mid managers. Cross functional projects basically help you honing all of these variety of skills and competencies through different critical and most importantly high quality exposures. So
Right.
and the third aspect is, the personal side of these middle management professionals. It's a big factor. Mid career professionals, they're often balancing weight of personal life. They have financial
as well as,
pressures.
yeah.
Sometimes it also leads to a lot of burnout. And simply, with the rigmarole of the day to day, there is less motivation to actually make a big career move. It's you're
Mm.
operating in your comfort zone. Why do you want to do that?
Right.
You've already got so much happening. You have balancing and juggling so many things. Why do you want to change? Why?
Right.
Because the next big move is going to push you out of your comfort zone. There's a lot more prep. There's a lot more hard work that you need to do. So it's at this juncture a mentor comes in and plays a very very pivotal role. They are the ones who will actually help and give that little nudge to these mid professionals, mid career professionals, and that's where the change of environment happens. At Ashana we call it changing the mahal badal ke do. So it's less about pushing for a promotion, it's more
Mm.
about discovering your own purpose and passion. The key to making sure that this happens is that the organization gives you the support, as well as you're able to navigate this transition.
Mm.
It's very important. This environment is really going to give the opportunity for making lateral moves, taking the risks. You know that the organization is allowing you to take the risk, putting you into a different job geography, or a role, and we will equip the organization. And this is something that we're doing at our organization at present also. In the project leader program, we've got people who are moving in from one location to another, one department function to another. They have to unlearn, relearn. That's a natural normal,
Mm.
again, so it resonates with the ability and the willingness to learn and work out of your comfort zone, finding
Right.
solutions. So before we throw them into the role, we first train them, and then typically it's like the training orientation works like a kiddie pool, and then you're actually put into your real time environment, from simulation to a real time role that you,
Mm.
graduate to.
Right.
Very, very valid points, Surbhi. I'm so glad that, yes, and these points are so resonating because I guess all of us have gone through that phase. I particularly like the fact that, yes, when you emphasized on the thing, you started off with, if that, inquisitiveness orientation, that learning orientation, if it's not there, I mean, I think that is the first prerequisite. Second, the mid-level leaders also, just to summarize, what you said, they should be cognizant of the fact that, yes, the corporate whirlwind can never be eliminated. Okay, they
Yeah.
somehow had to figure out a way to schedule big rocks among pebbles. You can really never, otherwise, they'll be perpetually crushed under the rubble, right? So
Right.
somehow they need to figure out ways to schedule those big rocks. And of course, the other valid point that I'm sure everybody will agree to that, is because they're also always carrying the weight of striking a fine balance between the professional expectations, at the same time, the personal. I get the, and this is where I would steal the word from you, inflection point, not just from the professional aspect, the point of view, but also from personal, because there's a pressure from your family members as well, right? I guess this is where, if the adequate mentoring or coaching, if the support, if the leadership team, they start empathizing with them, because all of them, as I said, at some point, some given point in time, we've been there, we've experienced that, and we've come out of that. Okay, so I think that is required, by the senior stakeholders. Thank you very much, Surbhi. I'm really turning out to be a great discussion. Abhishek, moving on, this question is to you. How can individuals use their strengths to break through a perceived ceiling in their careers?
So, especially when we're talking about middle level leaders, so usually people, when they get to know about strengths, so I always talk about strengths, and because I've been practicing it, so people have good clarity about the knowledge that they have, skills that they have, I mean experience that they have. Based on that, they are able to reach to a point in their life. But after that, when what happens, there is a ceiling that gets created. because there are a lot of areas which are unexplored. So I'll give you an example and explain you, Sai. So when we work with people, we were working with a senior leader in an organization, and this leader had a strength. One of the top five strength was relator. Now, relator means people who have related. They are the ones. They are very good in building deep relationship people with people. They may not reach out to a lot of people, but they are very good. What they bring in any organization, any team is the depth of relationship building. Now, if you look at this person was stereotyped, and also that stereotype impacted this individual, and thought that okay, this is one single track that this individual can go and make his career. Now, when individual start, and this individual had an idea about himself that he's an introvert, though he was not an introvert. He was selectively extrovert. He used to use his strength in very different way. So when we started working with this individual, we started exploring some newer aspects about this individual. So one of the aspect that we explored is that people who have related, they do really well if they are put in an environment where they have to build deep relationship, because what they bring in any organization, any team, is value of genuineness and authenticity. And if you look at as a next level role, his CEO was requesting him many a times in past. This discussion might have happened that the CEO wanted him to move to the sales role now after spending considerable time in the organization, but he was very reluctant. And he was not reluctant because of knowledge and skills and competence. There was no doubt. The doubt was that whether I'll be able to apply myself. Do I belong to this? Because there is a lot of stereotypes exist about
Mm.
people who do really well in. So if you look at, we often talk that the leaders are. I mean, there is a stereotype in the organization. The leaders have to be great. Leaders are very animated, very aggressive from outside. It's not true. It's not true. So this individual also had these doubts in his mind that okay, I don't fit in that framework. But from within, everything was fitting very well. And we explained this individual. And he also shared that, okay, my CEO has been requesting me, but I've been denying because I don't see that me doing well in that role. So based on this trend, we explained this individual, we created a roadmap, how will that individual apply. So that explored new dimensions about that individual, and it was very seamless for him to move from X role to Y role. Otherwise, he would have left the organization, or might have not enjoyed working in that role for a very longer period of time. So this is what happens. That's how perception, stereotypes about self also changes when we start looking at people from the lenses of strength. It's really powerful, Sayan, and that's how it works. Yeah.
Very pertinent point, Abhishek. While you were telling me, I mean, just because I take pride in calling myself a salesperson, and I love this. So if you ask me in my career, the salespeople are perceived to be extremely extroverts. I really like the term, because I came across terms like selective listening and selective learning, but I never came across the word selective extroverts. Okay. So any which way, so the point that I'm trying to put across is that in professionals are considered to be extroverts, but the data says the top 5% globally of the high performers, those sales guys are introverts. The reason
Hmm.
is they believe in channelizing their entire energies when they are in front of the external stakeholders, in front of the customer. That is where they show their aggression or assertiveness. But when it comes to dealing with internal stakeholders, they tend to take a backseat. That okay, why do I have to justify here? Because eventually I am the revenue earner. So let me show my exhibit my skills when I'm in front of the customer. So that is
Right.
where the report says that, and we tend to typecast people, that stereotype people, that we tend to label them basis a myth. And Abhishek, through the lens of strength, I guess you're beautifully able to decode that, or rather unravel that myth. Okay, decode that myth that yes, this is not the case. They could be a different side of the same coin as well. Yeah. So thank you so much for bringing that wonderful example. Surbhi, next question is to you. How does your organization support middle managers in preparing for senior roles? Of course, you did mention few points in your early responses, but anything I don't know, we would be, and I'm sure our audience would also be interested to quite keen to know your response
This
to
is a
this.
very important question, and something that we are deeply intentional about at Ashiana. We understand that our middle managers are the backbone of, not just our organization but any organization. They carry the culture, they ensure the delivery, and they act as the most important and pivotal link between the ground and the leadership. And if we want strong leaders at the top, we must invest in them before they get there. So the journey doesn't begin only once the person is slated into the role. The journey starts much earlier on, and we need to take steps wherein we prepare them for taking on these roles, right? So first and foremost, what we do at Ashana is we give them exposure through different cross-functional and strategic projects.
Right.
For example, in our organization, in the engineering function specifically, we've got our engineers who definitely are given a 6-month exposure to being customer relationship executives. So they are
Mm.
exposed to not just their own domain, the technical aspects of construction techniques and everything, but they also need to understand the softer aspect of customer service. It's not that they will require to understand it only when they get to the top, but it starts as a journey when they join as freshers, as graduate trainee engineers. So it's built into their curriculum that 6 months is mandatory, where they get an exposure to the CRE role. They work with residents when they're about to move into the apartments at the time of the handing over. So this helps them come out of their comfort zone and gives them a broader business lens. So
Yeah.
very, very simple step, but it's curated much earlier in the learning journey of the individual in that particular department. Second is our learning journeys are not just training sessions. We definitely do offer a variety of workshops, to address different competencies and behavior subsets. But we go a little further. We make sure that there are mentors allocated, there are peer learning sessions, and we build time for personal reflection. uh, you know we make sure that these individuals after their workshops have time to go back and practice and learn. So we truly believe that real leadership growth begins with introspection. And when someone
Mm.
starts asking the basic question, why do I lead the way I do? So you just need to understand why is it that you behave and act in a particular manner, and as a result, is there a course correction that's required, or is it working fine for you? The third piece that we enable mindset shifts. Now, middle management has to move out of the high execution focus, and in senior roles, what we require is the demand is for vision, influence, and strategic decision making. So we work on the softer aspects which are commonly overlooked: communication, storytelling, dealing with ambiguity. These are things that we focus and foster as learning opportunities. And that basically helps the individual to learn and scale up to be a true leader. Last but not the least is respecting individual growth paths. We understand that we should always leverage the strengths of individuals. We shouldn't try and work on, areas of improvement. Everybody takes that, in conversations and in interviews. We always ask, what are your strengths and areas of improvement? But we actually start focusing on areas of improvement as places where we want to work. Why go there? The person has a set of strengths. Why don't we leverage strengths, right? So if an individual says that I would like to go into becoming a subject matter expert, I want to continue as an individual contributor, be it. We respect that, we recognize that. We're not going to make sure that everybody gets into general management. There will be enough people
Yeah.
who has made a decision what is their strength. We should respect these decisions and help them go further upwards and onwards in these career journeys. So, for example, we had one of our young managers, a domain expert, but hesitant in doing stakeholder discussions. So with a little bit of coaching and the opportunity to get into a customer facing role, which push the individual to come out of their comfort zone, hone a new skill, start interacting with people, there was a visible shift that we saw in the individual. And today, this professional is a project leader for us. So from being
Oh,
a domain expert as an engineer, the individual has transcended over a period of time with coaching and the right opportunities in the organization being given. Yes, there were pitfalls, there were learning lessons to be learned, and of course, course correction. But with that, we were able to curate and get this person to go through that transformation. So, one simple, well placed, stretched opportunity unlocked the transformation for the individual. And the individual was also pleasantly surprised and happy at the end of the journey. I recall again going back to Jim Collins. Great vision without great people is irrelevant.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
we just
absolutely.
need to make sure that we turn our capable managers into future ready leaders,
Future
not
ready
just giving
leaders.
them titles, but also offering them real transformative experiences to prepare them for the road ahead.
Yeah, great, Surbhi. I mean, really very, very soothing and encouraging to see that how Ashana Housing has brought the kind of rigor when it comes to succession planning. That's one. And I'm very happy that, yes, you also said that why only weaknesses, why not strengths, right? You also emphasize a learning journey, which is again, so hence I, consciously use the word soothing. Very, very valid point. Thank you so much. And the example that you give, I guess, it should be a big call out to again, Ashana, the way you're, I would go back to my earlier point that the kind of rigor you've managed to bring in as far as succession planning is concerned. So it's like this whole exercise is being taken care of, very, very seriously, right from the freshers, groom them, take them to, through a comprehensive journey. And by the time they reach there, they're already prepared. So I think, I mean, Ashana has been able to, set up a perfect example for others to follow suit. So thank you so much, Subhi, for this. Yeah. Now, moving on. Okay. Now, this is again a common question, Abhishek and Survi. So, in
Sure.
your view, what mindsets or skills are critical to move beyond this stage?
So we let you take it.
Okay, so thanks, Abhishek. I'll take this on. Well, the leap from middle management to senior leadership, it's not just about capability, it's about the mindset. And like I said, we really need to figure out how these individuals have the mindset change, give them the opportunities, and most importantly, there has to be a safety net that we create for these individuals. Because
Hmm.
for example, a simple capability of communication and storytelling, this is something which is important at as senior leaders. We need it for aligning teams across the functions, be it presenting to senior leadership, or even simply writing a note which is motivational in nature to my team members on a job well done. Your ability to communicate, writing a compelling narrative is essential. So influence, it essentially doesn't come from authority, it comes from clarity, it comes from conviction, and like I said earlier, it most importantly, it's the connection. So these are basic facets which we need to start inculcating in people who want to make that shift from mid management to leadership roles. And
Right.
there are multiple examples that I can share with. One that comes to my mind immediately is, in the homegrown leadership program that we had a mid management professional, initially very, very execution focused, but over a period of time learned and was able to start mentoring individuals in their team, started leading open forums. So the shift from being an individual contributor to a visible influencer, which then made this candidate a very natural choice for a leadership role over a period of time. So you know we as HR, we as mentors, leadership team members, we all need to be conscientious about creating other geniuses in the organization, enabling people to be elevated, as we walk our trajectory. So the core of the approach should always be helping others evolve from being individual stars to probably who lift and develop others. And the best part is that these are shifts which are all very learnable if somebody is open, intentional, and most importantly willing to stretch. It does take time and effort, but it's definitely doable.
Right.
Over to you,
Great,
Abhishek.
Surbi.
Sure, thanks. So my quick points on this question, Surbhi, thanks a lot. Are number one, so middle level leaders have knowledge, skills, capabilities. So it's not a question at all. So I always say that keep polishing your self image. And I go back to Ramcharan's money making model framework where he asked about three
Mm,
questions. Keep asking these three questions again and again. The first question is, what is the money making model of my company? Second question is, how does my department contributes to the money making model? Third is, do I or everyone in my team has clarity about these two questions?
mm,
So this is something which helps a lot in building a mindset, and it comes from polishing self-image and doing it regularly, not self but also your teams. And otherwise, middle level leaders can be surrounded in the whirlwind, and that may stop them from doing a lot. So that's my take. In addition to the points that should be mentioned, Sai.
great, great, Surbhi and Abhishek. So create learnable shifts and then the money making model. Beautiful takeaways. I guess we are approaching towards the end of the session. I wish I could have, parked few more questions, but then paucity of time. So let me. Okay, so a big thank you, Surbhi and Abhishek, for sharing such invaluable and practical insights. It's been an absolute pleasure, having such a wonderful conversation with you, and I'm sure even an audience would have loved it. A lot of key takeaways for them to take away. Okay, and thank you very much once again, Surbhi and Abhishek, for your sharing your experiences and candor. Truly added a lot of depth to the conversation. And to our audience, thank you very much for tuning in and engaging so keenly. Until next time on Strength Spotlight, keep leading with your strengths and have a wonderful weekend ahead. God bless.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Sai.
Sai.
Thank you, Survi.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Surbhi.
Abhishek.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thanks. Thank you,
Thank
everyone,
you.
for
Thank you.
joining. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.